as 2018 comes to a close and 2019 kind of comes in and takes over, I thought it'd be fun to make a video about some of my highs and lows of 2018 as a gamer, as a YouTuber, as a Twitch streamer, as a tech enthusiast. So that's what we're going to do today. I'd like to see in the comments too, what did you think of 2018? What were some of the best things and worst things about 2018 for you as a gamer? So we're going to start off by talking about Destiny. So I can't make a video about 2018 and not talk about Destiny, right? Huge impact on my life. I played a ton of Destiny 2 during 2018. And for me, it's really got some highs and some lows to it. So obviously Destiny 2 came out in 2017. We played a ton of Destiny 2 in 2018. We also got the Forsaken expansion, which in my mind kind of created the best version of Destiny that we've ever had, but comes off of a point where we probably had some of the worst version of Destiny that we've ever had. And now we move into the kind of seasonal annual pass, seasonal update kind of thing that we're getting from the annual pass. And, I've got mixed feelings about that as well. So for Destiny 2 Forsaken, I really do believe this is the best version of Destiny that we've ever seen. The Dreaming City, for example, kind of makes good on a promise that was first made when I landed in the Cosmodrome in Destiny 1 for the first time. And I couldn't wait to go and explore and find the secrets of this world. Destiny 2 Forsaken, and the Dreaming City in particular, really lets me do that. There's tons of secrets, there's tons of little nooks and crannies, there's tons of little things to find and to explore, and it really feels like a fully fleshed out place. You really get to go and you get to talk to these skulls and find these cats and do these special events, and the way it kind of rotates on a weekly basis and changes a little bit really makes the Dreaming City, I think, the best place that we've ever explored in Destiny 2. And moving forward, I really hope that they see how much we enjoyed the Dreaming City, really expand on that moving forward in Destiny 2 and later to Destiny 3, because the Dreaming City was top-notch. I think the new raids are phenomenal. The Last Wish raid was outstanding. The final fight with an Aham Kara. We've been hearing about these dragons in Destiny forever, and we finally got to, fight one. The newest raid with the Black Armory, again, was just incredible. This new sense of scale and being able to use your Sparrow in a raid was absolutely stupendous. Now, there are some lows with Destiny 2 as well. The annual pass, I'm not sold on yet. The way that they are kind of rolling out high-end endgame content, and that's kind of it. As a fan of Destiny in the past, while the DLCs have really been a mixed bag, I do appreciate getting kind of like this special event, getting a story and getting some new strikes and some new story missions, maybe a new place to explore multiple times throughout the year. And with the annual pass format, I don't know what we're going to get that. And the Black Armory, to me, it lays the nature of Destiny bare in a way that I'm not sure I'm super comfortable with. With the Black Armory, it feels like the gameplay loop is you have to go out and get powerful weapons and become more powerful yourself so that you can go to the Black Armory, go to the Forge, and get new weapons and become more powerful. And it just kind of loops, but it lays that loop a little more bare than I'm super comfortable with. I've got a lot of trepidation about the annual pass. The fact that they're just solely focused on endgame content, while it's good because it keeps real hardcore players engaged and it gives people new stuff to do, it does kind of warden off the newest content behind you have to be playing all the time. So if you're a little more casual about your Destiny gameplay, maybe you like to play it once every couple of weeks or for 5 hours a week, that stuff is going to be really hard for you to keep up with, and the annual pass may not be worth it to you. I think as we move forward throughout the year, I'm sure that the annual pass content will evolve and change based on feedback. Right off the bat, with the Forge being kind of locked behind several hours worth of grinding, even if you were at the max power level going in, That was concerning to a lot of people. People, when new content comes, people want to play it. And the content in the annual pass doesn't necessarily allow that. It does allow for hardcore, the most hardcore of Destiny players, to continually have something new to do and to grind for and to go after. We'll see if they've hit it right, or if maybe a middle ground between casual and hardcore has to be achieved, or maybe there just needs to be allowances for the hardcore and allowances for the casual. I don't know. I do miss getting story DLCs. I'm not sure how I feel about the annual pass as of yet. There's a lot more to find out in 2019 about Destiny 2. I did want to talk about some other games. I thought it was a phenomenal year for video games in 2018. Like, an outstanding year. Coming off of 2017, I thought 2017 was one of the best years ever for video games. Just the quality and content and just the amount of amazing stuff that came out in 2017 was phenomenal. So coming into 2018, I thought it can't possibly live up to that standard, but it really did, and it was kind of a sleeper to me. You know, we started off the year with Monster Hunter World, and I gotta say, I like Monster Hunter, and I was intrigued by Monster Hunter going up to it. I had played one other Monster Hunter on the Nintendo, I can't remember if it was DS or 3DS. I don't even remember the name of it at this point. So I was intrigued going into it, and I played the demo, and I really liked the demo. But once I unlocked the full version of Monster Hunter World, I became a Monster Hunter fan. It's an incredible game. Graphically, it's outstanding. What they're able to achieve on the current gen consoles, I thought was really amazing. And the gameplay loop of going out, hunting monsters, having like this kind of story campaign, but then there's this extra campaign after the main campaign was really intriguing. Being able to team up with your friends and having different builds, and just the loop of going out and grinding monsters to be able to customize your character with armor and weapons was really fun. The combat is fun. The story was, it's quirky. It was a throwaway story, but it was there. The real star of that show was just the addictive nature of going out there, fighting monsters, bringing the pieces home, crafting new gear, and becoming more powerful. It was a really fun gameplay loop. The game played really well. It looked really good. The music felt really epic. I really enjoyed Monster Hunter World. And, sadly, it came out on the consoles, only for a good 6 months or so. It didn't make its way to a PC till summer. But I've heard the PC version is epic as well. Another game that somewhat surprised me was God of War. Now, I was looking forward to this game. I liked the God of War games in the past, although I felt like they'd kind of run their course, and, Kratos is mad was, it was fun while it was there, but I couldn't imagine what they did with that game, where they brought that series. The story of God of War, the way they were able to give Kratos, a son and a life, and this life after God of War, right? Where he was tempered, he was aged, he had gained a bit of wisdom, and he had a son, he had a wife. Like, these things were really incredible. The conversations between him and his son, and the way those characters evolved, and the graphics of that game, the story alone, I thought it was fantastic. The voice acting was out of this world. It was superb. Graphically, that game was amazing. The fact that they did that on the PlayStation 4, I thought was outstanding. You can play that game in 4K or with extra frame rate at 1080p. It looks really, really nice. It was nearly a flawless game. It felt like it was the right length. It felt like it was the right difficulty. Like, there's nothing about it to me that really kind of drew it down. The gameplay itself was super fun as well. The combat mechanics of God of War with his axe, and then later with other weapons, and then also having your son kind of be your long-range weapon, was really fun, really engaging. It felt like there was depth there. It felt like you could learn to get better at that combat, and it rewarded you for doing so, and I really appreciated that about God of War. God of War, to me, is not only one of my favorite games of the year, but it may be one of my favorite games of all time. It was just that good, and it really connected with me on multiple different levels. I found it to be outstanding. The next game that I wanted to talk about a little bit was Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I played Assassin's Creed Origins, and I really liked it. I had some fundamental problems with it. I never really liked the combat. What drew me to Origins was the character of Bayek and exploring ancient Egypt. I thought that was just really cool. Odyssey, while it didn't have Egypt, it did have Greece, and I thought exploring ancient Greece was pretty good too. What I did like about Odyssey, though, was the combat was a lot better, and the combat was a lot more fun to me. The act of fighting was something to be avoided in Origins, but in Odyssey, I really enjoyed the combat. I thought they really improved the combat. So there's some give and take there, whether some people are going to be Origins fans, some people are going to be Odyssey fans. To me, I'm an Odyssey fan because the moment-to-moment gameplay of that game was just so fun, and it was still really cool to go out and explore ancient Greece. It was just this massive world with all these different islands. You had boat combat. You know, you could pick factions. You had a really cool story with multiple different endings. I really liked Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Red Dead Redemption 2 came out this year as well, and that is a game that has been on everybody's radar, since it first got announced. And it certainly didn't sneak up on anybody. That game, I think, sets a new high watermark for open world games. It is so immersive. It's so detailed. There's just so much going on in that world. And then you're so motivated to be in that world because of the characters in it. Your main character, Arthur, is just such a cool character. There's so much depth there. I fell in love with Arthur over the course of playing that game. The other characters, the supporting characters, were phenomenal. They were voice acted so well. Dutch is just, every time Dutch was on the screen, I was transfixed. Having somebody who needed to be Dutch, right, who's got to somehow convince this gang to follow him, even though everything just crumbles around everything that they touch, is so good. But the fact that they got a voice actor who is actually able to pull that off, and as a player, I'm still convinced that Dutch can get us through. He's got so much charisma, Dutch does, but then the voice actor, you have to find a voice actor that has that charisma too, and they really nailed it. The open world was just outstanding. There's just so much going on in that open world that just wandering around becomes, something of its own. There's so many secrets to find. There's so many things that are hidden, and you can just mainline through the story, in which you might find some real issues with the gameplay of the game. But if you take the time to wander around and just to explore, I feel like it breaks up the story, whereas the story missions can be kind of repetitive, right? A lot of the story missions, just mainlining through the story missions, are go to camp, watch a cutscene about the mission you're about to do, ride out to the location of this mission, get in a gunfight, ride back to camp, watch a cutscene, ride out, get in a gunfight, come back, watch a cutscene, ride out, get in a gunfight, come back. This is story missions just kind of go over and over and over again. It's hidden a little bit if you explore some of the external world. Like if you just go and say, I'm going to go fishing for a little while, or if you stay away from camp for a week, they actually send somebody out to come get you. Like, where you been, man? You're supposed to come back to camp. That kind of stuff is so amazing. The gameplay, though, it's my favorite video game. Red Dead Redemption 2 is my favorite video game that's the worst video game because there's so many things about the actual gameplay of the game that are so frustrating. The actual controls of the game, they boggle the mind. For instance, if you want to pick something off the ground, depending on what that thing is, it could be any one of 3 different buttons. If you want to pick your hat up, it's one button. If you want to pick a gun up, it's another button. If you want to just loot a body, it's a different button. It's insanity. And there's multiple things like that. For instance, if you go into the controls and you want to change which button it is to run, you can do that. So it's more like a first-person shooter where you can click in the left stick and it makes Arthur run. But that change doesn't transfer over to your horse. So for most of my playthrough, I've been clicking in the left stick to make Arthur run, but I still need to use the X button on the controller to make the horse run. And like things like that, just the methodical, slow nature of Arthur's movements too. They make sense in a contextual nature for the game and the story and who Arthur is, but over time they become frustrating because you know, every time you want to skin an animal or every time you want to loot a body, every time you want to open a drawer, you know, you have to watch this kind of long-ish animation, and over time it just gets frustrating to have to watch this over and over again. And for me, it just makes me not want to do those animations. I don't want to hunt because skinning animals takes forever. I don't want to search if I see a room that has, you know, 7 drawers, I'm like, oh my God, this is like a 3-minute process, you know, to do this over and over again. So Red Dead Redemption to me is a funny thing. It's such an immersive, crazy world. It's such an amazing video game that's just ruined by so many of the gaming parts of it. I can't wait for this game to come out on PC. I'm really hoping that when it comes out on PC, the controls are going to be much more customizable, and hopefully there will be some mods out there that'll help some of those gameplay bits kind of smooth out a little bit. Because I think the world and exploring the world is just so compelling, and the characters are so good, and just like the side stuff, like just random side stories can really turn out to be something that are just so epic and unbelievable. There's also been some smaller games, and one of my favorite things about 2018 has been the Nintendo Switch. So the Nintendo Switch didn't come out this year, but I think I really started to appreciate the Nintendo Switch for something that actually Gary Diaz at Revolver used to harp on. It's the perfect place to play some indie, smaller developed games. Some of those games that I played this year are Celeste, Dead Cells, and Hollow Knight on the Switch. Now, I had played Hollow Knight. I played quite a bit of it on the PC when it came out in 2017. Playing it on the Nintendo Switch, though, I don't know. It just felt like it was the platform that game was made for. Celeste was just an amazing experience. And for some reason, the Nintendo Switch has a way of connecting you to your game because it's so personal to be holding that game in your hands, you know, while you're sitting on a couch or laying in bed. It's so intimate to be holding that game and playing it on that small screen. I feel fully immersed, but as opposed to, you know, playing Hollow Knight on, you know, this $2,500 computer or $3,000 computer, you know, at 240 hertz, it doesn't need all that. Hollow Knight was perfect to me playing on this small screen in my hands, you know, like in this really like kind of personal way. I really like that about the Switch, and it's something that I've really come to enjoy about that game console. Another odd thing about 2018 is how many games I actually played on console. Now, I love my computer and I love playing PC games, and I'll be honest with you, I play far more on my PC. Frankly, I play Destiny 2 constantly on my PC, and I absolutely adore it for that. I love the mouse and keyboard controls for Destiny 2. I love getting that high frame rate from a 9900K and an RTX 2080 Ti. I mean, the game looks phenomenal. It plays phenomenal. Shooters are great. You know, whether I'm playing Doom or Wolfenstein or Destiny 2, whatever it is, I love playing on my PC. It's the best experience. But my best experiences playing games this year, a lot of them were on consoles. Like I just talked about the Nintendo Switch and some of those indie games. Like I talked, Monster Hunter World, I played on a PS4. It was also available on Xbox One for much of the year. It didn't come out on PC until much, much later. And they still haven't come to parity with the events with the Monster Hunter World PC version compared to the console version. God of War, it's a PlayStation 4 exclusive. Red Dead Redemption 2 is available on Xbox One and PlayStation 4, but not on PC. We don't even know when it's coming out on PC. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I did play on PC. So it's weird. A lot of these games that were kind of my highlights of the year, my favorite games of the year, you know, I played on console, even though I prefer to play on a PC. And PCs have had a rough year in 2018. If you are kind of a fan of, you know, gaming PCs or gaming on a PC, it was a kind of rough year as far as hardware goes. We had the cryptocurrency kind of rush where, frankly, the cryptocurrency miners were buying up all of the graphics cards. So if you wanted to buy a graphics card, the demand was far more than the supply, which created a situation where there just weren't enough graphics cards, and the stuff that was on retail shelves was way more expensive than it would have otherwise been. It was just way, way expensive. Several $100s more than the recommended retail pricing. And that continued throughout most of the year. I don't think it really cleared up till about August. And that's kind of when, NVIDIA came out with their new graphics cards, the RTX series. And instead of getting some relief from the high cost of graphics cards because of the cryptocurrency mining craze, what we were presented with from NVIDIA were crazy high-priced graphics cards. The RTX 2080 Ti starts at like $1,200. The 2080, I think, is $800 or $900. The 2070 is like $500. These are really, really high prices for brand new graphics cards. And they don't even justify that price. The 2080 Ti is only a little bit more powerful than a 1080 Ti, the last generation's kind of high-end gaming card. It's really not a big difference. It's a small difference, 20, 30% more frames per second. But considering you're paying, $500 more for the RTX 2080 Ti compared to the 1080 Ti, a lot of gamers were saying, I just want a 1080 Ti. It's finally on store shelves because the cryptocurrency miners aren't buying them all. And that created a situation where those sold out really quick. So, the price of graphics cards has just been rough this year. 2018 has been rough. And RTX with the ray tracing technology hasn't really taken off in video games. We have one video game that uses it, Battlefield 5, and you take a significant hit to your frame rate, even with the patch version of Battlefield 5 that we got a couple of weeks ago, still like a 30-40% hit to your frame rate depending on where you are. And in a shooter like Battlefield 5, you really do want that high frame rate, so it's not worth it to a lot of people. You're not really getting the full experience of a high-end graphics card. If you turn on RTX, you get a small bit of cool lighting effects from the ray tracing, but you take a huge hit to your, frames per second, which is a real bummer to a lot of people, me included. Other games that we're expecting it on, Shadow of the Tomb Raider hasn't put it in yet, so we haven't been able to see it yet. We're expecting the new Metro game to get it, but that's still a ways off. So, RTX ray tracing from NVIDIA, there's not a whole lot of reason to buy it. There's a lot of rumors that NVIDIA is going to come out with an 1100 series of GTX cards, hopefully with the power, the frames per second power of the RTX card, just without the RTX, the actual ray tracing capabilities. And I think for right now, ray tracing is really for the early adopters. You're going to get very little benefit out of it right now. It's not going to be till 2019, 2020, 2021 where there's enough games and enough power in those ray tracing cores to really, really show off what these things are capable of. So right now, buying an RTX card is, if you can find a 1080 Ti, a GTX 1080 Ti, I would definitely buy that over an RTX 2080 Ti. It's just so much better value. Same goes with Intel. AMD really shook things up on the desktop for processors, right? They came out with multiple core CPUs priced super aggressively and really forced Intel to, change their ways. Unfortunately, Intel is in a situation where their next leap in technology is still ways off. They've been having trouble making that happen, the 10 nanometer process. So what they've done is they've kind of kept their current architecture and just added more cores to it, and you end up with something like this, the i9-9900K. And what this creates is a situation where if you want the highest frame rates, if you really want like a fast gaming computer with just the highest frame rates you can get, you're in a rough situation cost-wise. What you're looking at is an Intel part with either 8 cores, 16 threads, or 8 cores and 8 threads. That this processor costs more than $500. You add that to a graphics card, the 2080 Ti, that costs $1,200, and gaming has gotten a lot more expensive in a very short period of time. Now, you can still go lower end and save some money, but the high end, I feel like, has gotten higher end, if that makes sense, right? If you want the best kind of Intel processor for gaming and the best NVIDIA card for gaming, the prices have just gotten much, much higher than they were even a few years ago. But the performance hasn't really accelerated with the price. The speed of this processor compared to gaming on last year's 8700K is very, there's a difference, but it's very small. The speed of gaming on a 1080 Ti compared to gaming on a 2080 Ti, there's a difference, but I don't know that it's worth the price hike that the newer parts really have been asking. So it'll be interesting to see what AMD does in the year ahead. There's rumors of new graphics cards coming from AMD and new processors that may compete speed-wise with Intel. So we'll have to see how that goes. I'm hopeful that AMD is really going to stick it to both Intel and NVIDIA, but I feel like that's a lot to ask for from one company. There is no way I can talk about 2018 without talking about DCP. DCP, the Destiny Community Podcast, started off as the Planet Destiny Podcast. And at some point, we decided we wanted more freedom. We wanted to leave the Planet Destiny kind of aura and really branch out and do our own thing. And it was a big risk. It was really scary to do. We didn't know if the new podcast would just die on the vine. We didn't know if we'd continue to do it. We didn't know if anybody would follow us over from Planet Destiny to DCP. We had no idea. It was a huge risk, and it was really scary, and it worked out. And it's been, frankly, an amazing year. 2018 for DCP has kind of been the year that we started to actually take home a paycheck. And after years of work, I think we've been working on that podcast for 4 years. To bring home a paycheck, it's not a big paycheck. It's still a little paycheck. But it feels like a reward for a lot of work, and it's been an amazing year. I really want to thank everybody who contributes to that podcast and everybody who listens to the podcast on iTunes or watches on YouTube. That was a scary thing, moving off of Planet Destiny. But now 2018, it really feels like the year that the DCP has kind of solidified and become its own thing and kind of supports its own weight. And it's been a great year for DCP. Going down to Guardian Con and meeting everybody is amazing every year. But DCP, it was a big year for DCP. It was also a stressful year for DCP. We lost Holtzman. He actually started working at Bungie for about 4 months. We are losing Pope Bear. He's going to take a sabbatical from DCP for undisclosed amount of time. He just needs time to do other stuff. And Pope Bear, if you guys don't know, Pope Bear is like a major part of DCP on the show and behind the scenes. On the show, he often is, he's got a family. He's got a real job. He's the only person on that podcast who has a 9-to-5 job. So when he comes in and he talks about his relationship to the game, I think it reflects more upon most people's relationship to the game than most people realize, right? Sure, the people on Twitch or the people who are most invested, the most hardcore of people, aren't going to see things from Pope's perspective all the time. But I bet the majority of people who play Destiny would, because his relationship with the game is much more like the average person's. The average person has, a job, a family, kids, a dog. They don't have, 40 hours a week like I do to put into Destiny. They have 5 hours a week to put into Destiny. And I think that's a weird, it's a weird thing, because the most hardcore of the players are the people who are going to show up for a Twitch stream or, be talking about Destiny on Twitter or be talking in YouTube comments. the people that Pope speaks to most I think are the people who are least likely to be like in those forums. But I think they're a significant portion of the Destiny playing public. Pope Bear also does a lot behind the scenes for that show. Basically anything that you see that's like a special event, Pope Bear put together. Any guest that comes on, Pope Bear contacted him, got him on the show, coordinated their time. He coordinates the schedule of the guests every week. Like he coordinates the advertisers, like the behind the scenes stuff of the DCP of Destiny Community Podcast. That's Pope running that stuff, and it's huge. Like I'm not sure that anybody else on that podcast could do what Pope does. He's hugely important to that podcast, like in ways that people just don't understand. So shout out to Pope and shout out to the listeners, to the viewers. Thank you so much. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. I'd love to hear down in the comments below some of your high points, some of your low points from 2018. What did you really love about 2018? What did you hate about 2018? What are your favorite games? What are your favorite gaming devices? Like what really got you amped for 2018? Love to hear it down in the comments. Let me know below. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button if you like the video. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I'll see you guys next time.